All right, welcome back to the channel. So, I think that Don King is making moves on Al Haymon and Bob Arum, as a former Don King employee is behind Triller'S potential takeover in boxing. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a little bit of an abstract video. Also, it is going to be one that really deals pretty much exclusively with the business of boxing. And I guess to a certain extent, the fighters involved in this are Teofimo Lopez and pretty much all other fighters, because it's involving the promoters. Now, as you know, there had started maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that, what they call a network battle that took place in boxing. But before, what that is, with the, HBO, Showtime, ESPN, DAZN, this big battle that we have going on, Sky Sports over there in the UK, where networks are really the ones putting the money behind fights. And as a result, the networks are the ones that are really driving and deciding which fights are happening, whether, what big fights are going to happen and which big fights aren't going to happen. And in this whole thing, there was a major promoter that was the biggest promoter in boxing in the 1970s and the 1980s, and that was Don King. And Don King was effectively cut out of boxing as soon as they went from boxing shifted from its traditional promotions, when you're out there, selling the fights, getting big fighters, to have really big cards and really big events to make a lot of money, right? And switch from that, and also having big investors invest in the fights. In the case of Don King, that was the former president of the Congo, and the fight between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, and George Foreman, where Sesi Mobutu put up all the money, right? And this also continued for Muhammad Ali through many other places. The Thriller in Manila was another big fight where I do believe it was Ferdinand Marcos that was there at the time, and they put up a lot of money for the fight, or people there put up money for the fight, right? It's called a site fee and all that other stuff. But once the networks became involved in it, there was less of that, because now you have major corporations that are involved, and they're the ones that are paying the bills to the networks. And that's something that Bob Arum himself said when he was put up out of HBO not too many years ago, and which went to where he is now, ESPN. His explanation of what was going on with wrong in boxing is exactly what I'm describing. A shift from traditional promotions to one where HBO is the one that is deciding what's going on and is doing the matchmaking and all of that. So Bob Arum runs up out of HBO, goes to ESPN, and does the same thing, except for he gives worse fights than he had over there at HBO. However, in the case of Don King was, because of this reputation that is spread about this man constantly, anytime his name is brought up, right, muddied his name so bad, hey, he didn't get the big network deals. He didn't have Don King Promotions and have Don King Promotions exclusively have Showtime and have Showtime pay all his bills, right? Did not happen that way from what I understand. His thing was big pay-per-view cards. He would sell the replay to the networks, right? Before that, he was doing closed circuit TVs in the 70s and the 80s, right? But the business model changed on him. Now, though, we're seeing, and this is where I'm thinking that Don King is involved in this, and that Don King is probably the guy that's doing some consultation on how to change the structure of boxing. Because what he's doing is going to exactly what he did before, and that was get some big money investors just to pay for the fight, right? Now, how do I know that that's the case? Because there was an interview that took place on, I think it's Mike Coppinger's show, but it was, or is it Ring Digital? Can't recall. However, there was a guy that was interviewed. His name is Peter Kahn. Peter Kahn is the new hire recently hired to be the head of Triller Fight Club's boxing program. And the reason he was hired was because he was essential to winning the purse bid between Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. Now, I believe that this is Kambosos' manager or involved in some way, but he also used to work for Don King and worked for Don King for many years. In the interview, he said that's where he learned everything that he did in boxing. Now, once he was able to successfully win the purse bid, he then went to work for Triller Fight Club. Now, doing just a little bit of information, or excuse me, a little bit of an investigation into Triller Fight Club, it is backed, according to Peter King, by a man named Ryan Kavanaugh. Ryan Kavanaugh fits the bill of the billionaire investor that will buy these things all the way out and are more than willing to invest a little extra money in order to do it, to do what you call disrupt the industry. Nipsey Hussle is in his song, one of those songs talks about how things are going to be changing a lot and these giants are going to crumble and new brands and new companies are going to come up in their wake, and it's going to happen very fast. Talks about that same concept, right? Talks about the same concept. And that's pretty much what happens when you have big angel investors that are willing to become disruptive and disrupt an industry. How do you go about disrupting it? You dump a ton of money on it and operate at a loss for a while everybody else is running, trying to make profit, trying to make, money. You say, I'm not interested in money. I'm interested in disrupting their businesses. So that is exactly what Ryan Kavanaugh, who is the owner of Triller Fight Club, did. He bid twice what the other guy bid just to know that he would get it. And he got it. He got the Teofimo Lopez fight. That is absolutely positively what you call disruptive technology, or disruptive money to back a disruptive technology called the internet. Because as you recall, DAZN said coming into it, sorry, had a break for my dog. But anyway, it's a disruptive technology. So that is what Ryan Kavanaugh is doing. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background on Ryan Kavanaugh and why, for him, $6 million is nothing to him, right? And he may well be willing to lose $6 million a couple times a year. His company, which is called Relative Media, has, and with his partners, up to the year 2012, because I looked up the Wikipedia, not difficult research to do. Went to Wikipedia, looked up Relative Media, found out that they, as of 2012, right? This is 2021. As of 11 years ago, they had invested over $20 billion in technology, in movies and different projects, right? And movies are what? Projects. You make one, you sell it, you make your money back, right? That type of deal. $20 billion that they invested in those type of things back before 2012. It is now 2021. Who knows? They could be into the $100 billion invested when you're talking about Citibank, Merrill Lynch, and Deutsche Bank, right? His partners are Citibank, Merrill Lynch, and Deutsche Bank. That's a lot of money. Merrill Lynch is an investment. They're into investments. Citibank is a bank. They hold the money. Deutsche Bank is a foreign bank. They own the money. They take the money. That seems to me somebody that knows how to deal with very, very large businessmen and then get them to invest large amount of money in boxing. Why would they care about boxing? Obviously, boxing's sitting on that media platform called Triller. Also, in the local places that you hold the fights, there's a tremendous economy around the fights. All kind of advertisement dollars. They can actually get the fights where they don't care about a pay-per-view. They can put the fight, if they really wanted to, on somebody and let them see for free. Eventually, if they own both Triller, and Triller is owned when they sell it, because that's what they typically do, sell it to ABC, CBS, or one of the other major corporations that they also own a portion of. So I think it's Don King. I do. And I think he's still actively involved in the sport of boxing and looking for a way to get involved in a big way. And this seems like what he's doing when he has a guy that used to work for him that was the architect of getting a guy that has $100 billion worth of investment dollars to get them to consider coming into boxing. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.